It is 6:31. Today is August 23rd, 2023, and this is the Board of Directors regular meeting for Trophy Club Municipal Utility District Number 1. We do have a quorum. Director Rose will not be present. He had something come up, so we will miss him. And I will call to order this meeting. Citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for the citizens to address the board on any matter, whether or not it is posted on the agenda. The board is not permitted to take action on or discuss any comments made to the board at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The board will hear comments on specific agenda items prior to the board addressing those items. You may speak up to 4 minutes or the time limited determined by the president or presiding officers. To speak during this item, you must complete the speaker's form that includes the topics of your statement. Citizens' comments should be limited to matters over which the board has authority. Lori, do we have anybody?
No, sir.
No one?
Nope.
Okay. Just future meetings, I know we have a lot of attendees. If you put one of those forms up on my desk, or I can grab one so I can show, this is the form.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
can do that.
Yeah, no big deal. We have so many people attending, you know. So, okay,
I'll email you, okay?
yeah, okay. Reports and updates. 1, staff reports, capital improvement projects. B, operations reports. C, finance reports. D, digital platform analytics. Alan?
Good evening, directors. A few capital improvement projects. Our FY 2023 water line project is moving along well. The construction is substantially complete on Riviera Court. We do know that they received the meter boxes in today, and so they're working on getting that road finalized. There is one piece of concrete that's yet to be fixed in Trophy Club Drive, but they're trying to wait until they have enough quantity to get an actual order delivered. The main on Sunset Drive has been installed, and they pressure tested a portion of that today along Sunset. They're going to start the sampling process later this week, and if everything goes well, they'll start transferring some of those folks back over to that new main on Sunset. At the same time, they're also working on preparing the temporary water line on Berkshire Court, and they're going to be starting next week and working on boring of the main between Sunset Drive and Straight Creek Court. This project is scheduled to be completed by the end of November 2023, but if it continues to go on like it is, we should finish prior to that date. The pump station improvement project, we did issue a notice to proceed with the contractor. Friday, we actually have a meeting with them to talk about the timing of the schedule for their project. They have been providing submittals, and right now that schedule looks like it's going to be completed around April of 2024, weather permitting. The station generator project is moving along as well. They've got all the installation of all the conduit has been completed. They have all of the generator pads formed and ready to go. They expect to get concrete this week, assuming there's no issues with that. So the original delivery for those generators is scheduled for December of 23, but most recently, we received some information that they may actually show up within the next few weeks. So if that happens, then obviously we'll be able to complete this sooner than the expected date of April. Wastewater improvements, the contractor finished the recoating and repairs to the manholes as part of that project. I believe there was over 45 manholes that we addressed and either sealed, recoated, or had repairs to. They also completed an additional 3 point repairs, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we have about 5 more point repairs and we'll be done with that project as well. Moving down to wastewater treated on page 6 of the packet, there was an error on the report itself, the daily average flow. There is some green showing that there was some flow, but that number should be closer to the prior months, closer to about 850,000 gallons. So just wanted to point that out. That was just a typo on our part. I don't have any other updates, but can answer any questions you may have.
Just out of curiosity, could you or the Chief is still here, hiding behind that chair. Comment on the fire station and the walkthrough that you all had.
Yeah, the fire station is substantially complete. We have paid the 95% invoice for that. There was, during the initial demolition of that project, there was a rod that holds up the springs on one of the doors was found to be dented along with one of the bottom panels. So we went ahead and made sure that they got those ordered. And my understanding is they may be closer to mid-September before those products come in. So we're holding off 5% retainage until those products are returned and installed. So mid-September, it should be 100% complete, but as of right now, it is fully operational.
Everything working okay, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Doors open?
Yes, sir.
Air condition works? Doing good then, okay. Anybody have any questions? For Alan, specifically Stephen? Need to have a question? No, okay. You don't have any? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, consent agenda. All matters listed as consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate decision of these items, or discussion, excuse me, of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We have agenda item number 2, consider an act to approve the consent agenda. A, July 19th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. B, August 2nd, 2023 special session minutes. C, August 16th, 2023 special session minutes. And D, appointment of Wholesale Water Advisory Committee.
Motion to approve consent agenda,
A through D?
A through D.
Okay. I'd like to, if possible, pull D off just to have Alan give input on that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so you,
Motion to approve consent agenda A through C.
okay, I have a motion by Secretary Treasurer Harper to approve 2A, B, and C of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Vice President Brewster. We're voting on consent agenda item A, July 19th, 2023 regular minutes, B, August 2nd, 2023 special session minutes, and C, August 16th, 2023 special session minutes. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Okay, we're moving on to D. Could you just explain that, please?
Yes, Directors, annually, the City of Fort Worth requests that we provide an updated appointment form. We are a wholesale customer of Fort Worth, and as such, we have a voting member as part of that subscription. So what this form does is memorialize who our voting members are, which we have Mike McMahon as the primary and myself as the secondary. Typically, we attend those to get any kind of updates associated with the water, wholesale water. in
Okay.
the City of Fort
The
Worth.
reason I did that is so you could list the names and it'd be on the records. I don't have any problem with that. Does anyone have any issues with that? Okay. Okay, we're voting on consent agenda item D, appointment of Wholesale Water Advisory Committee, and those voting members will be Mike McMahon and Alan Fermenton. I'll entertain a motion. In fact,
Motion to approve the Wholesale Water Advisory Committee.
okay, I have a,
Consent agenda item D.
thank you. Okay, I have a motion by Secretary Treasurer Harper. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Vice President Brewster provides a second. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Okay, moving on. Regular session. Receive update from Strategic Committee, Karen Harper. You got anything? I got nothing.
You read it last time.
What?
You read it last time.
Yeah. Nothing has changed, right? We haven't heard anything back
No.
from the town?
No, we're still awaiting my understanding was that the town council would like to see the final report by New Gen Strategies before they decided to make a decision on whether either to proceed with this further or hold a joint meeting.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, and my co-board member Harper, you can jump in too, but didn't we all agree to have it heard, all three entities at the same time?
That was my understanding, yes.
Okay, I just, is that what you understood?
That was the original consensus amongst the strategic committee group, yes.
Okay. And Jeff, you were in there. I don't want to call you out if you don't want to say anything, but isn't that what we agreed to?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think that Westlake go through that process.
Okay, I was just making sure that's what we agreed to, and if it's changed, it's changed, but, okay. So we have no update, is that correct? Yes, okay. So we're moving on to 4, consider an act to adopt order number 2023-0823A as an apple, declaring the 2011 brush truck be surplus property of the district and authorize staff to sell such property.
Do we have any questions? Yeah, this is our existing brush truck. This apparatus was purchased back in 2011 through a Texas Forest Service grant. To date, this unit's only been utilized 175 times since January of 2013. 30 of these incidents were related to wildland firefighting, roughly 3 per year. The remaining incidents have been utilized for public service assistant, down power lines, lockouts, medical response, et cetera, almost as a secondary unit. The fire chief and I have had conversations about this over the past few months, brought it to my attention that they no longer need it and understand that. So I asked them to just do a little due diligence, and they reached out to Wildfire Truck just to try to figure out if they could identify some sort of valuation or cost. They said that they figured that it would roughly be about $50,000 at auction, but that's all subjective. As part of that, Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus, who is the company that purchased our most recent trade-in fire truck, gave an offer of $60,000. Wildfire Truck actually reached out to Ponder Volunteer Fire Department because they knew that they were looking for an apparatus similar to this one, and they reached out to the fire chief and also offered $60,000. So we think this is very beneficial for the district and fire, especially this year, budget-wise. And also, Ponder is excited to see this unit as they're in desperate need for one. Plus, it gets to stay in Denton County. So I think that it's a win-win. And if we go to auction, there's a chance that we get $40,000, $50,000. So I think that $60,000 is a fair offer. That's roughly 75% on your investment. So I think that it's a pretty good deal.
So your recommendation is to sell it to this other company to turn around and sell it to Ponder?
No, my recommendation is to sell the vehicle to Ponder Volunteer
Direct to
Fire
Ponder.
Department
I
in
was
an amount.
going to say, why would we make Ponder pay more money?
Well, I was showing the due diligence that was performed.
No. So you feel comfortable that we have a fair market value for it, or getting a fair market value for it?
Yes, based off of the information received, yes. And Ponder is ready to show up tomorrow with a check.
Mike, what do you think?
I think I don't drive fire vehicles.
Chief, that's okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have I'll consider it a motion to adopt order number 2023-0823A, declaring 2011 brush truck to be surplus property of the district and authorize staff to sell such property to Ponder. Is that correct?
Ponder Volunteer Fire Department, yes, sir.
Ponder Volunteer Fire. I just want to be specific. We're going to sell to them.
Correct.
Okay, for the amount of $60,000?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Plus gas to get there, right?
They'll come pick it up.
Okay. Does everybody understand the motion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for it.
I'll make a motion to sell to Ponder Volunteer Fire Department and the amount of $60,000.
Okay. I have a motion by Director Hunter. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Vice President Brewster. Any discussion? I see none. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Okay, moving on. Okay, agenda number 5, consider an act to approve resolution 2023-0823A as an apple, amending the fiscal year 2023 budget.
Directors, this budget amendment is being provided to you tonight. It's a form of housekeeping, and we've provided explanations for the changes or modifications to this budget and can answer any questions you may have.
I had spoken with you earlier about the remaining balance we had from last year, because it looked like we were going to be paying like amended 400 and something thousand. Is that about right?
That's correct. Roughly
Steven, or
478.
you want to explain that?
So the projects that we've been working on, a lot of the capital improvement projects have been funded through prior year's funding. So over the past few years, we've been ending ending the year with a surplus. So even though you have the money budgeted in a prior year for a revenue, when you expend it, you have to expend it out through these line items. So essentially what we have here is prior year money that was already assigned and dedicated to capital projects being funded out through our annual expenses this year.
Okay, so last year, it was a remaining balance. It just flowed over to this year, correct?
Basically, yes.
Where would that be in the account from last year? Did it just stay in the same?
Technically, this account's actually these have been floating over for prior years. If you actually pull up your cash report, and this would be further up the page. Your cash report should be in the assigned fund balance. So that would be on page 48 in your packet. You'll see the fund balance in fiscal year 23 for the capital projects. This is the current projects plus prior year, or the 4.7. That includes prior year projects funding for projects that are carrying over for prior years. Every year, if you remember, I bring over GASB sheets that break down every single project, what has been spent year to date over each year, what has been added for any amendment, and what is remaining for each year to be spent. I will be bringing this to the board next month also at year end, and showing you projection of where we're going to be finishing out and what will be carry over again. This year just happens to be one of those years. We've had a surplus over the last 5 years due to COVID, due to some of the stuff having issues getting any items in. Some of the projects have carried over more recently over the last several years. This is the year where a lot of these projects are getting finished up, so this year just happens to be when all the expenses are hitting at one time. I reached out to the auditor just to double check and everything, to make sure this is how he would recommend. He does agree that we had benefited with the surplus over the prior years. This would just be the year to show the extra expenses actually hitting the books for the general fund.
Essentially what we're trying to do is get caught up on prior year's capital projects. They were budgeted, but they were sitting idle.
So in the audit, these are going to be pulled out in the audit. You're actually going to see capital funds pulled out of the general fund. But being a special district, we do our budget a little bit differently than the municipality would. We don't actually have a separate fund for the capital projects, that we only have 2 departments, which would be 2 items in a whole entire fund. So they are a part of our general fund. So in the audit, you will see these broken out a little bit differently, which then you can actually see where the net difference would come across with this budget, which most of this comes from prior years.
You'll be able to see the movement of the capital funds next month.
Okay, on the vehicles, proceeds from sale of assets, it says surplus 2 vehicles. And I know one of the trucks we just auctioned off, right? That was 22,750,
Correct.
is that right?
22,750, and then we had the 3/4 ton truck that brought 15.5.
The other one is a truck we haven't received yet.
Although we sold the one from last year, the water truck that we received. It was another utility bed truck that I believe it was $16,000. The rest of it is from scrap.
Okay, so as you explained to me earlier, the difference of 25,000, Stephen projected 50,000 as a whole, right?
Correct, based
And
off
we
of
were
the
at-
sale of that asset.
We're about 37,750 or give or take.
We scrapped materials, and so what he's showing is the materials that we scrapped as part of that. Our old brass meters, metal parts throughout between water, wastewater, old manhole ring and covers. Whenever we sell scrap, it's considered a proceed from sale of asset. So
Yeah,
it
that's what
goes
I'm
into
saying.
that fund as
You
well.
have the 37 and whatever plus the scrap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it includes that.
And
And
so-
typically, he budgets around $25,000 a year just because he doesn't know how much scrap is going to be generated from old valves or appurtenances that
He
are pulled
knows.
out of the ground.
He knows. I know.
And then
he
also,
knows.
you have a vehicle, you had a half-ton truck go for $22,000 roughly, and then you had a 3/4 ton truck that went for 15. So it's just, it's very subjective on what you're going
The
to get.
biggest variable this year was when we were going to get the vehicles in. There was a year turnaround on a lot of these vehicles being ordered, so we weren't really sure when the vehicles were going to be delivered. We can't sell the vehicle until the vehicle gets
Well, that's the
delivered.
350, right? Or
One
whatever.
of them.
One of them.
One of them. We still have a wastewater
Yeah.
truck that's on
Be-
order.
Because a couple meetings ago, we tagged 2 vehicles be auctioned
Correct.
off. One of them got auctioned off.
Yeah, we
So
ordered-
what was the scrap again? The dollars for the scrap?
I don't know those
There's
exact dollar
various amounts. So we've had scrap, I'm going to say 8 or 9 different trips. I'd have to pull each and every one of them.
You
So
don't
there's
have an
several
idea?
different trips. I'd have to pull each invoice that I've had and come across. So they
Okay.
take it to the scrap yard, they get taken to the bank as a manual deposit.
Okay, and here's the big question, the 60,000 that Tracy just made a motion on, that goes in this budget or next?
Yes, it's going to be put back into the fire general fund,
Okay, thanks.
fire cash balance fund.
Which is a different account.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Whatever fund.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have agenda number 5 to consider approving resolution 2023-0823A as an apple, amending the fiscal year 2023 budget. Do I have a motion?
I have a question before anyone makes a motion.
We'll make a motion and we'll do discussion if that's all right.
No, I want to discuss now. It's fine.
Okay.
So sorry.
You making a motion then?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve the resolution number 2023-0823A, amending the fiscal year 2023 budget.
Okay. Now,
I have a question.
okay, only one question per agenda item.
I know, because someone's not here and we want to get out of here fast, right?
We just go through the agenda.
No. I have a question. Can someone explain to me, I'm on page 48, in revenues, interest income, there's an 1,800% increase interest rate going from 2023 adopted $20,000 to 2023 amended $380,000, being a $360,000 change. Why such a large increase
So-
Because
in
the
interest?
because the increase in interest rates.
So the
Those
interest
directly
rate at the
affect-
beginning of the year was half. You're looking at 0.50. The interest rate now, we're getting 5.3.
Okay,
So a significant difference from, we're sitting in a post-COVID world where the interest rates have skyrocketed over the last 18 months roughly. And so this is really, and it's moving pretty quick.
okay. That's what I
We're-
thought.
We're seeing
I just-
that, we're seeing that across the
Time to buy a
board
house.
on everything besides our depository bank. And so it's gonna be a little bit different next year, as we start to spend some of the cash down. But since we have a pretty healthy reserve right now, this is where we're seeing a lot of this interest come in from what we normally see in prior years.
And then I'm seeing, all right, I'm on page 53. The cell tower revenue has gone up 248.66%.
That was from Alan and his
That's correct. We
negotiating skills.
renegotiated the contract last year, and with that contract, there's also a 5%, I believe it's a 5%, no, 3% escalator. So that includes that additional revenue.
Okay, I remember that.
Do we have any comments on the amendment itself? On page 48.
What was the purpose of the bad debt, or the reasoning behind the bad debt going up so much?
So the bad debt is a couple different things here. One, we're trying to get it closer to what is actually in our audit allowance for. Every year, we have account write-offs. So we have this with the auditor. I'm just trying to get the expense to be closer to what our liability is with the auditor. And two, since we did change our customer deposit policy this year, I am expecting to have a little bit more bad debt write-offs this year because we have less customer deposits sitting in the bank to offset the debt. Meaning if we have more account write-offs, we have less money to offset the expense we're going to write off.
Have we issued those credits yet for the people who had deposits?
Yes, everybody's been taken care of. Every single month we issue, it's a 2-year rolling, so every single month, anybody that hits the 2-year mark in good standing gets their credit back.
So no thank you notes or
75
gift
bucks, thank you
packages?
very much.
Oh,
Believe it or not, we got a pretty good flux of calls in the first month and a half, just due to the credit on their bill, and they're not used to seeing a credit on their bill, trying to figure out why they're seeing a credit, thinking that the customer thought they overpaid or there's some error in the billing side. Unfortunately, with the system, it shows a credit. There wasn't a way to describe what it was for. It just showed a credit on there.
I waited a long time for that $40.
It was nice that we were able to do that. Okay. We have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion? Ben, did you have anything?
No.
Doug? Okay. Tracy, you made the motion. I'll entertain a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Vice President Brewster seconds Director Hunter's motion. Any further discussion?
It was Harper. I didn't make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She made
I had
Thanks for
questions.
Yeah, that's right. You have that? Okay, my bad. Thanks for
Why we
correcting
got
me.
Lori.
Thanks for correcting me. Okay, we have a motion by Secretary Treasurer Harper and a second by Vice President Brewster to amend the budget. Okay, all in favor, show of hands. Okay, passes. Sorry about that, Doug. Sold you short. Okay, discussion and possible action regarding fiscal year 2024 draft budget. We went through this last week, and I think we resolved all of our problems. Is that right?
This includes all of the conversation, comments, and direction provided by the Board of Directors. We just brought it back as another opportunity to answer any questions you may have. As it sits right now, this is what we will be bringing to the board next month for final approval.
Okay, does that brush truck sale change anything on the fire side?
It changes the year-end projections.
Okay.
And it's notated on page 51, underneath the revenues for MUD, about halfway down, proceeds from sale of assets, $60,000. And also another question that arose was how much money are we looking at receiving back from FEMA on reimbursement for the Perryton deployment? I got some rough information today that looks like about $65,000 is going to be issued back to the town, which the majority of that will be 50-50 split cost, except for the truck itself. So we'll break all of that out. Whenever those funds are received, we can document that accordingly within our account system.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions on the budget that we haven't already gone over? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to take action regarding fiscal year 2024 draft budget.
I'll make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 draft budget.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice President Brewster. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Secretary Treasurer Harper, seconds. Any discussion? I see none. All in favor of the motion? Show of hands. That passes unanimous. Moving right along. Agenda number 7, consider an act regarding tax rates for 2023 tax year. A, approve proposed tax rate for 2023 tax year, and B, schedule date and authorize publication of notice for hearing regarding adoption of final tax rates for 2023 tax year. Do you want
You have any questions?
Can you just explain what we had last year, what we have this year, just for the record?
You want to go ahead and touch it, Stephen?
Sure. So what you're seeing here in front of you is the notice that will go out in circulation in the paper. That is apparently still a thing, and that has to still go out in circulation. The only verbiage change on here that is required is a second paragraph on there now. That is at texas.gov/property taxes. So that is an additional requirement that is mandatory to put on here. And as far as the bottom down here, you'll see last year and this year, you'll see the adopted and the proposed. So last year's adopted rate was 0.09134 per $100 valuation, and this year we're proposing a 0.06381 per $100 valuation. So all in all, you're looking at a 30.14% decrease in the overall tax rate. So what that really means at the end of the day is the average homestead is going to go down about $105, almost $106 a year for the average homestead. Now, granted, this is the average. Some residents will see a little bit higher savings, some might see a little less savings. That's roughly a 21% savings at the end of the year on taxes.
I've had multiple questions asking me about the 30.14 decrease. The majority of that has to do with the 2012 and 2013 refunding bonds being paid in full during the FY 2023 budget.
And one more time, that was a decrease?
That is a decrease, that is
Okay.
correct.
Sounds good.
Not only a decrease in tax, but actually a decrease in the average homestead for taxes. As Alan talked about, most of that is going to be the INS falling off.
Okay,
And so this has to go out in circulation. So once we finish here, this will be completed, and this will go out in these on Sunday paper for the Denton Chronicle.
okay, do we have to, and maybe, Emily, you on?
Yes, sir.
Do we have to, in the motion, list all the tax rates, or can we just approve it and it's going to get published anyway?
I think you can probably just approve it as indicated on the notice provided in the packet.
Okay. Is that all right, Stephen and Alan? Mike, you okay with that too, right? Okay. Okay, so we can just do one motion, excuse me, to approve this item 7, and make sure we just do A and B if we make a motion. I'll entertain a motion for it.
I'll make the motion to approve the tax rate as defined on page 50, if I may, of our agenda, of our meeting minutes. Packet. That's for the tax rate for 2023, and to schedule a date to publish notice of such tax rate.
For 2023 tax year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I have a motion by Secretary Treasurer Harper. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Director Hunter.
The form of clarification, we actually need to set the date. We need to set that for September.
Yeah, it's on the notice, September 20th, at the next meeting. I believe you have to say the day. Emily, maybe I'm not wrong, but I think you have to say the day of the public hearing.
Yes, go ahead and just amend, somebody who made the motion, just amend their motion to say, and publish the notice on September, whatever the date was.
23rd?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll amend my motion
20th.
for publication on September the 20th, 2023.
Tracy, are you okay with that?
I'll second that amended motion.
Do we have to vote on the amendment first, or just since there wasn't a vote? Usually if there's a,
I think you can vote, you can do both at the same time. I don't think there's any problem with that.
I'll just do it one at a time just to make it, because I think, okay, we're going to vote on the hearing date is September 23rd, 2023.
September 20th.
20th or 23rd?
20th.
20th?
20th.
20.
September 20th.
2-0.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to vote on that first, on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? It passes. Okay, we're going to vote on the A and B, that to approve the proposed tax rate of 2023 tax year, and to schedule a date September 20th, per the amendment, to authorize publication notice of the hearing regarding adoption of final tax rates. All in favor? Show of hands. Passes. Thank you very much. Thanks, Emily. Okay, we're moving into executive session. Is that correct?
If you all need to go into executive session, that's entirely up to you.
I don't see a reason to go into executive session.
I don't have anything to hide, so, do you?
I have no reason to go into
Okay,
executive session.
Doug? Okay, we'll skip the executive session. Okay, the regular session is discussion, possible action regarding amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement for administration of fire protection services with the town of Trophy Club. And everybody should have the red line change comparison. Is that correct?
Yes.
Everybody have it? Okay, what I requested earlier to change is, there is language, I don't have it up yet, but there's language pertaining to just Denton County. And as everybody knows, Trophy Club has Tarrant and Denton County, so I asked that to be added.
I saw that.
So you got the email? That
Yeah, I have it pulled up right here. I read that.
Yeah, and then I have a question for Emily. In the whereas or definitions, it references Fire Protection Services. Okay, and then in the payments section, it says we're obligated to pay 50% of the employees that per the fire protection services, and then further down, it says we'll pay 100%. And it mentions training and other operations, but is the employee training considered the 50% or?
I believe so. I guess I'm going to ask if that's the normal practice to Alan.
The 50% portions, are you talking about under B, 2, and 3? The 50% is the same as it has been. That's for the maintenance, operation, employee, and associated expenses, which would include training, is 50%. 100% is the building itself and any purchase of fire apparatus such as one of the new fire trucks.
And that's what I thought, but in the description for fire protection services, it mentions training and other things. That's why.
As part of the overall fire protection services provided to the residents.
Yeah, my issue is it uses that same term, fire protection services, in every one of them. And if you define it at the beginning, when you put it to another item, the definition doesn't change. It's still the same thing. And that was my, if it's fine, it's fine. But I'm just, looking as, okay, if someone wants to go to it, say, wait, you defined it as this. So you should be paying 100% of training, which includes, staff training.
And
So I
that
think
is
if you
covered
look-
under the 50/50.
Yeah, so I think if you look at what B2, 3.1, B2, and B3, it carves out from fire protection services the personnel part. And so everything that's associated with personnel, which I would assume includes training and safety education, that is what's going to be carved out into personnel. And then you go on to the next one, and the 100% is the, sorry, I'm trying to turn to it, is 100% carving out from fire protection services, the services and supplies associated with fire protection services. Now, this is the same language that's been in there for that language hasn't changed
Well-
since the 2021, I don't believe.
As I told Alan, just because it was in there before, it doesn't mean it was right. I mean, as time goes on, people's definition of words and terms change. So that's like, how long has Denton County been in there by itself? Does that make it right? No.
I understand. I'm hesitant to go back on this again to them. I mean, every time I go back with them for a change, I get another change.
Yeah, I mean, it gets down to, okay, do you want to dissect the period and the comma and all that?
Right.
And I understand that. If you're fine with it, that's fine. The
Yeah.
other thing I saw was I didn't like the language of the payments that, if the PID doesn't come up with any money, the trophy club will, in good faith, negotiate or something to that. And it's like, why is that in there? Because the contract is between the MUD and the town, and we talked about it last week, that we don't care where they get their money from as long as they pay 50%, just like they wouldn't care where we get our money from.
Right. So we've just left the issue of how the town's going to come up with their 50%. We've just left it unspoken. And if they don't come up with their 50%, then they are going to be in breach of contract. So we left this language in because I didn't think it hurt the city to say the town's going to work with the PID, which is themselves, to collect the stuff that they couldn't collect. And we've just left it there and took off that, if it's less, then we'll negotiate, to figure out how we can reconcile that difference. In the end, if they don't come up with their 50%, they don't come up with their 50%, and that's a contract dispute.
And that's the way I took it, so I was just wondering why, to me, it's like just more garbage added to it, but again, it doesn't mean anything, doesn't have anything to do with the contract, it's just language, okay, the town will, negotiate in good faith with the PID, which they're the PID, the town are the representatives of the PID. So I don't know if they split the council and take sides, and you be good guy, I'll be bad guy. I don't know how they would do that.
Yeah, I don't.
So, Okay.
It really is just, it's on them to, the point of it is to put it on them to go collect it.
Okay, so you're all good with it, and the town responded back, is that correct?
The town's lawyer has responded back, and we have exchanged what we both said, this is what we are willing to present to our clients, both of us, as a draft that we think we can recommend that you all approve.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on this, or? Stacy?
No, I'm actually good
Okay.
with it.
I'm happy.
Ben?
I'm assuming that the document I received at 3:53 PM today is the final document.
That's correct.
And no one has any ideas about amending that, right?
That's what I'm looking at here.
I'm good with this.
Yeah. And there wouldn't be any problem in the definition of the fire protection services and what, as it goes through the document, correct?
I feel like it is going to be fine, yes.
Okay. Okay, we heard from our legal. There are no questions, so I'll entertain a motion to approve this thing. I had one question, and I can wait till we approve it or whatever, but the question is, for this contract to go away, if the PID is annexed into the MUD, it would go away, and then we could just do a management contract with the town to manage it, correct?
As
We'd have to
long-
do these assessment parts of it.
So you say the PID go away, what specifically do you
Annexed
mean?
into the MUD.
In order for the PID to be annexed into the MUD, 51% of the property owners have to petition to the board of directors to go for an election to be annexed in. Emily, is that correct?
Well, so if 51% come and they ask, 51% of the landowners petition, you would hold a hearing, and if y'all approved it, y'all could take them in. But you would then have to hold an election to be able to assess them taxes. So it's not an election to be annexed in, it's an election to assess them taxes. So, I mean, that's kind of, it can happen, I suppose, but seems like a high hurdle to get 51% of the landowners in the PID to petition and then get a majority to approve the taxes. But
Okay, so we're having some volume issues. I don't know if they can turn your volume
Jacob,
up.
can you turn up the speakers up, please?
Did y'all hear that out in the audience? All 1,000 people that came today and stuff, okay.
Emily, can you test your volume?
Can you say?
can
That's still
y'all
low.
hear me okay?
Thank you.
It's still kind of low.
Jacob, turn it up on the device itself, please, on the rack. The volume button. All right, try again, Emily.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that's much
better.
better. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'll
so-
just repeat what I said, which was 51% of the landowners within the PID area, the area to be annexed, have to petition. You all would then hold a hearing to determine whether or not you would accept the annexation. Once they're annexed, you can't assess them taxes unless you hold an election.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's, I understood the first time. So just for, so everyone understands, I'm going to repeat it again so it gets recorded. But the landowners of the PID would have to present a petition with 51% of the landowners to request annexation of the PID into the MUD district, correct? After
Correct.
that, in order to be able to tax them, an election must be heard and passed to accept the annexation.
to assess them taxes. I mean, they will be in the district, they just won't be taxed.
Okay, but both of them should occur about the same time, or try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
okay.
should- yeah.
Okay, so everybody understand that? And that would do away with any assessments that they get assessed by the town, and we get assessed by taxes. Right.
We would just assess taxes instead of doing the fire assessment and the PID surcharge.
And then the management of it would still have a contract similar to this, that we would pay X amount. Okay.
And the
I
benefit,
think the town would have to be the one to kind of terminate the PID. I don't think the PID would terminate kind of automatically once you annexed it. They would have to go through whatever process it is, and I haven't looked at what that is, for them to end the PID.
Well, the PID, I think, would continue to go on. It's just that the property would be in the mud because the PID has a assessment for bonds that they
Okay.
have. So the PID would not go away until those bonds are satisfied. But we would be taxing and do away with any, additional assessment for fire taxes that they see under Denton County, but it's not tax. It's an assessment.
Okay.
So, just to make sure everybody's clear on that. Good point, Emily. Okay,
I have one question.
okay.
What's the benefit of the property owners in the PID to do this?
It basically eliminates, to them, it would just be that they would get their tax on their Denton County bill as tax rather than assessment and stuff, where taxes technically are, you can write them off, some of them, or used to. I don't know if you can do it now, but the people were in a misunderstanding that, oh, no, I have I have a tax, for this. It wasn't a tax. Their accountant would break the news to them and go, that's not a tax, that's an assessment. So, and then we could do away with Stephen having to spend his time on crunching the numbers based on the valuation that comes in July to tell him, okay, this is what is the assessment. Is that right, Stephen?
It would just be included as part of the district's.
Correct. Yeah, I wouldn't have a separate rate just for calculation on that. It
Right.
would also benefit for the surcharge also. The surcharge is another calculation of the fee in lieu of for a tax.
Right.
And it would be beneficial if you're talking about for resident wise, it would be a better truth in taxation. And this is just my personal opinion on this one because right now, in the monthly bills for the PID resident is a flat fee that goes out every month on the bill. So if you take a resident that lives in the PID, take a resident that lives in the district, the average bill is higher for a resident that lives in the PID because they're paying a surcharge, a PID surcharge fee, which is basically their tax broken up in an even surcharge throughout a year in even installments. Not taking consideration what the price of the value of their home is. So someone who's got a $500,000 home versus a $1 million home is paying the same value. So if you get someone who, looking there for the PID, that is a benefit for them to have that being taxed versus a flat fee.
Aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, the big thing would be the Jeff Beach statement, they would get representation on the mud. Okay? So that would be the biggest caveat to the PID besides.
Could also have a singular water system instead of having to do documentation and paperwork for two separate systems as well.
Another good point there. There he goes. Again, and Alan says right now we're duplicating recording processes by having two water systems, which could go away on other methods. Is that
My
correct?
understanding is that's a simpler process. It's a matter of a documentation being filed with TCEQ and transferring of those assets to the district.
So the word being is, if the PID wants to do away with things just mentioned, they need to, get a petition that has 51% and present it to the MUD, and then we could go to the vote on it. And what's the leeway, Lori, you might know this on, how much in advance do we have to get it before an election?
It's 90 days, I think, Emily, right?
I don't know. I'd have to look
It's
that up.
90.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
90.
Yeah, we would, in
Oh.
August, you need to have everything finalized by now to get anything on November. It's months.
Yeah, so we're looking at earliest May, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you got that, Jeff? Okay, okay.
The transfer of the water system could happen at any time, from my understanding. That does
Right,
not
that-
require a 51%. That would be an action requested by the town of Trophy Club. That's my understanding.
Okay. Didn't expect it to take that long, but I think we got good information out of that. Okay, so we're on item 10
Well,
was,
wait, I don't think y'all have taken a vote.
no, that's what I'm getting ready to do right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Okay, because we were just talking about it, I'm saying, okay, we're on 10, and we're going to, discussion we already had, possible action regarding amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement for administration of fire protection services with the town of Trophy Club for 1 year it's going to be, but it's agreeing to the interlocal cooperation agreement as written, as amended as of today. Is that correct, Emily?
Correct.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for agenda number 10.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Vice President Brewster makes a motion to approve the amended and restated interlocal agreement for administration of fire protection services with Town of Trophy Club. I'll entertain a second.
I'd like to second that.
You'd like to, or you are?
I am.
Okay. Okay, Director, or Secretary Treasurer Harper first liked, now he is making a second. Okay, so we have a motion for and a second for, and we're voting to accept this interlocal agreement. All in favor, show of hands. It's unanimous. So it has passed, and that's done, finally. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Emily, for all the input. Yeah, really. Do the fireworks go off now, or?
Our work.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Chief, you got your agreement and stuff, so, okay. Agenda item 11, items for future agenda. Do we have anybody that wants to put anything on? I hear crickets, so I guess no. Okay, so we're moving on. Future meeting dates, the next meeting is September 20th, 2023 at 6:30. Everybody okay with that date? Okay. Next one is, we're going to adjourn, and it is 7:23, and the meeting adjourns. Thank